What's going on?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing. So cold, behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. And I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If you wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
Anybody else wonder if maybe the government had told the aliens they were going to announce to everybody that they existed, and the aliens were getting all prepared and they had like some giant reveal planned and they were going to do something, and then collectively society just went, whatever, we don't really care that there's aliens and that we know about them and that they live in the oceans. And so now the aliens are just sort of like, what do we do with all these balloons? I mean, this is such a letdown. And now they're just going to start showing up all the time for no reason and just probing things and doing stuff just because, you don't care? You don't care that we're real? Oh, you don't care that we're real? What are you going to care now? We're going to make you care. Go get in the ocean. See what happens. Guys, I think we should have probably at least been like, what? No, or something, because I just have a feeling they're going to be real pissed.
And that's what 2025 is now leading towards. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. It is a new year. Happy New Year to everybody. And we are here on our Sunday night show, back from our holiday vacation. Ken's global traveling and my hiding from this friggin' cold weather down here in Florida. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. And Ken, I'm glad you're back home safe and sound.
Yeah, we had a nice trip. We headed down to a place called Alexandria, Virginia, and really enjoyed our time for their first night. A lot of good acts, a lot of good musical acts. Great city. Vibrant art scene and restaurant scene and so many things to do, and some of the nicest people that I've ever met in my travels. So we spent 3 days down there, and as always, it's nice to come home, but especially now because I think they're going to get belted with a snowstorm. So
would that be considered Southern hospitality down there?
What's that?
Up there for you, Virginia?
I'm going to call it Southern hospitality, Mid-Atlantic hospitality.
Okay.
So it's somewhere in between.
Well, we're glad that you're a jet setter getting out there and spreading the word of Dead Air. By the way, guys, if you'd like to spread the word of Dead Air, there's certain ways you can do it. You could first find us on kgradb.com/Dead Air. Also, twitter.com at Global Radio Live. Right here, what you're watching now on youtube.com is at Dead Air Nation. Our Facebook account is Dead Air Full Spectrum. personal Twitter account for the show is dead_spectrum. And we'll get into topic later on again with our Patreon account. $3 membership, guys. Town Hall returns again tomorrow. Again, we skipped last week while Ken was jet setting, and we look forward to getting back with you guys tomorrow. Some things to bring up topically tomorrow with our Town Hall members. And if you guys want to become a member, you'll just join us on Town Hall on screen as we get into some of the down and dirty topics with regards to the paranormal. Uncensored, unscripted. So you make sure you guys do check it out. Speaking of unscripted, there was an unexpected unscripted event that happened last week with one of our Town Hall members. Ken, if you wanted to address that.
Yeah, we wanted to just take a little bit of time before we get going tonight to pass our thoughts along to the family of Marie Tippett and her friends as well, who sadly passed a couple of Fridays ago. And Marie was, always such a kind soul, and always with a smile on her face and good questions. And I think just enjoyed the community that we had there. So we are very sad at her passing. And again, our thoughts go along to her family and friends, and she will be sorely missed.
Yeah, a bright, shining lady, just always upbeat, and again became a very, very close knit part of the family, and she will be dearly missed. But we expected Marie to come visit us or some of your other town member family from time to time. Just jump in there, because that's what we do as ghost hunters.
Yep.
So
Another angel gains their wings, and hopefully she'll be back to say hello at some point.
yes. So we are in a new year. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, the thumbs up, so that other people on YouTube will be able to get notifications through YouTube that we are here. And of course, the reminder bell for upcoming content, which there's always new content occurring, and we will be bringing more your way also. But yeah, a lot of plans for us for 2025. Ken and I are looking to do some more things that are going to be entertaining for you guys here on the channel, whether it be live or pre-recorded. So just make sure you guys stay tuned, and thank you for joining us again tonight, because we have a tremendous topic. It's a hot topic, and it's a hot guest, somebody who is immersed deeply in what it is that everybody seems to be talking about, everybody has questions about, and it is exploding on social media. So Ken, if you would please do the honors.
I would be happy to. Katie Paige is our guest tonight, and Katie has personal ties to a ranch in Colorado, now known as Rocky Mountain Ranch. In UFO folklore, it was known as the Clearview Ranch. Some of you may be familiar with that name, and it actually predates the infamous Skinwalker Ranch by well over a decade. And this connection motivated her interest in ufology to find answers to her experiences and to uncover the truth about what was happening there. So she is now the CEO of Rocky Mountain Ranch. I'll get this out. Rocky Mountain Ranch Research, tongue twister. And she can be seen on History Channel's Beyond Skinwalker, the Travel Channel's UFO Witness, Gaia's Beyond Belief with George Noory, Small Town Monsters, On the Trail of UFOs, Night Visitors, and UFOs Revisited, as well as Ron James' excellent film, which I have seen twice. It's called The Accidental Truth. So we're going to get into quite a few topics tonight with Katie, as well as in the second hour talk about her experiences as a paranormal investigator.
Right.
So without further ado, let's bring our friend Katie Paige on with us tonight.
Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year. Hi, Ken. Hi, George. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
You're very festive behind you there.
It's very Rocky Mountain, right? All bundled up.
Is that a fireplace or a TV set?
It's a faux fireplace, so it's remote control, but it does blow heat when you need it. I love it. I love the ambiance of it.
It's witchcraft.
Can make fire.
That's creepy.
What's it like right now, temperature wise, where you're at?
Oh, my phone's not here. It's like 35. Oh, wait, 28. 28 degrees right now. And we're going to drop down into the teens tonight.
Good
Low
God.
teens. Yeah. Yeah. No
No.
snow, though. No snow. It's like no clouds in the sky. It's a beautiful blue day, just cold.
Shh, quiet, they'll hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing up. Somebody was doing a live video from New Jersey last night. No snow. It's like, okay, what's going on? And it almost seems like February, March is when you guys get dumped on. It's just that's the new norm now. It's so very, very
Right.
strange.
And it's getting later and later. Now we go into like April and May. Like my birthday's in May, late May, and we get biggest snowstorms in May now. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Everything's
same thing.
Changing.
Yeah, same thing with us. Our hurricane season used to end by the end of October. Now it ends at the end of November.
Right.
So it's just the world turns. We just have to keep contending with one onslaught of something to another, and we're talking about onslaughts tonight. Let's go right into the deep end of the pool and get into this whole drone thing, because it's a firestorm, and it's not only a firestorm on social media, it's a firestorm on national media, where people have been bringing this up. It's been put out there for people to speculate. Our government has done press briefings with regards to this, and nothing seems to come of it. I hate to use this example or another aspect of government when they talk about gun violence and things that happen, and they definitely do those press topics, and then it's forgotten. Let's move on to the next thing. Nothing resolved from it. Anything to resolve from this in your neck of the woods? What is going on with regards to the investigation behind these drones? And I've got my own take on it, but go ahead.
Right. It's so frustrating to me because I don't know if many of you remember, but out in like northeastern Colorado 5-6 years ago now, we had these same situations with the drones. Colorado Bureau of Investigations was involved. I think it had some tie-in to maybe Francis Warren, really close there over the border of Colorado and Wyoming, in Cheyenne, Wyoming. But that went on for months and months, never was resolved. It was a big deal, made national news. And guess what? We still don't have answers to that. So I don't hold out much hope to finding answers to the drones of what's going on now. And now you add all CGI, and people are posting things that do look like light configurations on aircraft, and that's what they're telling us they are, but we all know that they're not all of that, right? And it's just this big mess, and so much to the point where, just like your video at the top of the show, we're like, we've had enough. It's and maybe that's intentional, that we just get so tired of not knowing what's true, what's not true, or who or what they are. We have to know that somebody knows. I mean, if we took a drone, and as a matter of fact, we're starting up a drone company out here in Colorado. There's regulations. You have to keep the drones within 3 miles. So you have to be, certain distances from buildings and,
Right.
elevations and whatnot. So we know somebody knows, but they're not telling us. And that kind of is a little bit scary, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that there are a couple of things at play here too, because one of the interesting things, because I never really went down that drone hole too much, because I saw evidence of mass contagion with these things, because a lot of people may know or may not know, but for the last 2 Christmases, drones have been reported around about the same area, and nobody paid that much attention. And this time they did pay attention, and people started looking up in the sky. And of course, when you look skyward, you're going to see things.
Right.
But I think some of the numbers might have been a little overblown, because, if 10 people were to report seeing the same drone, that's 10 sightings.
Mm-hmm.
And then coupled in with celestial bodies and airplanes and people sending their own drones up there, either to be part of the story and get a kick out of theirs being reported, or maybe sending them up to find the other drones. This is not a new phenomena. It just seems in this particular case, people just kind of lost their ever-loving minds, which is not the same as what you're saying. It's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There's nothing there that's a threat. Don't worry. It's not the idea if it's a threat or it's not a threat, Katie. It's just the idea, can somebody please tell us what these are? Because in the absence of an explanation, this is where conspiracy theories start, because people start filling all the voids. And then this is what becomes an issue.
Right, for sure. And I mean, to now tie in that possible explosion in Las Vegas, have you seen this? That potential letter tying that into the drones in China and what's happening there? I mean, what do you make of that? And again, I don't know. Have you read that statement?
Yeah.
And what did you think of that?
Yeah.
Well, I think, again, it opens up an avenue for people to start connecting dots that aren't there, but it's only because we're not getting any factual information. We get a shrug of the shoulders. So what do you expect people to do?
Exactly.
They're going to fill in those gaps.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. There is some slight aspect of paranoia in the letter. To be sure, he expected that he was going to be accosted eventually by law enforcement, but there's a lot of things within that do make sense, and also give you pause. If there's facts that China is using propulsion systems in these drones and are making it over U.S. airspace, and it's just kind of left to the wayside, you wonder at that point in time, is it just that they're infiltrating our borders, or are they also infiltrating our government? That they're not, it just makes you go crazy trying to figure out why things are happening the way that they are, as opposed to, in my opinion, 30, 40 years ago, we just would have blasted the hell out of those things. And now everybody's just cautious. It's strange.
It is strange. And weren't we just shooting balloons out of the sky not too long ago? And now all of a sudden we're not doing that. And then the timing of it, right, with the change of the guard, I guess, that makes, I think, people a little like, okay, what's happening? And so I think you're right, Ken. You bring up a good point that when the public at large is left with no clear answers, I mean, just if you could look around where I am up, there's just stacks of books of people with the UFO phenomenon, the paranormal, and all these other, the cryptids. We try to fill in the gaps, and we try to come up with our own answers, and then it just makes your head spin, and it's really frustrating. And that the guy, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, from Las Vegas, he was out of Colorado Springs. So there's like that local connection too. And from the interviews, the few that I watched yesterday, I haven't done a deep dive on this, but, I think the show that I watched were taking his information with a grain of salt, and they were cautious about the truth of it. But at the same time, there's a lot of pieces that fit too. So I just don't know what to make of it. And I just get frustrated because the drone phenomena out here was never solved either. And so I'm kind of thinking we'll get the same result.
The interesting thing, or maybe it's the curious thing, is that whatever these are, they seem to be operating in the parameters set forth. You can't fly a drone higher than 400 feet. One of the things that I wish, they probably wish they had back now is when the FAA cleared drone flight for nighttime, because now you've got, all these lights on these things, and some of them are pretty elaborate, but that wasn't the case up until, I don't know, 2016 or something like that, or maybe even more recent. But in allowing these things to fly at night, and the same token, when they're shutting military bases down, I forget which one it was, but they had to shut it down for incoming and outgoing flights. It's not a commercial airport, but a military base, because these things were flying all over the place. So they ultimately, like some of the UAP we see, present a hazard to air traffic. So I would think that first, before we jump down rabbit holes, let's take care of that.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Good
know,
point.
right? They're messing with our pilots and commercial airliners and things like that.
Mhm.
They're in their flight space. Can we please just kind of figure that out without going into a skiff every 5 minutes and then, well, sorry, we can't tell you.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
But I mean, a lot more people are watching the skies, that's for sure. And even here, my second oldest son, Vincent is his name. Him and his wife are coming home from the grocery store with my little granddaughter in the car. And, you know, he's kind of always the skeptic in the family, although he wants to experience the paranormal and some of the things mom has experienced through her lifetime. He has not, but he wants to. He calls me, and his wife is even more so on the disbelief side of things. You know, I love her to death, but she's like, you know, but they saw something and they're like, we can't explain it. It wasn't a conventional aircraft. It wasn't a regular drone. This thing, they were watching it. It had solid lights. They're like, it certainly wasn't a satellite. And it just took off super fast. I'm like, did you see the afterburners? Did you hear a sound? All those things. They did not. And I trust my son and, you know, his wife when they say they saw something. And
right.
just because of, you know, this national news, they're looking at the skies more, like so many people are. So of course our accounts are going to go skyrocketing through the roof just because we have so many more millions of eyes on the skies. So we have seen them. I mean, I trust Vincent's report that they're being reported out here in Colorado too.
Well, let's look at it this way now, because one of the theories out there is that an alien civilization using familiar technology to us was flying these things. Okay, there must have been like some kind of dramatic budget cut to the alien, you know, where they're going to use propellers instead of dark energy now. But was there ever anything in your mind that could possibly be a link to, you know, unidentified anomalous type of thing? Because these things were making noise, they were buzzing,
Yeah.
and they're drones.
However, that being said, even at Rocky Mountain Ranch, if you go back to the older reports, we do have quite a few UFO reports of humming sounds, electrical sounds. So not all UFOs are silent. So there's that. Let's start there. But maybe now we have this crazy fog thing going on. What's that about? I mean, we had a good fog bank yesterday. So my youngest son calls me. He's like, Mom, I just wanted to call and let you know I survived the fog. And he's like kind of making fun of it. Like it's natural, nothing to worry about. But some of these accounts you're hearing of this mysterious fog making people sick, weird kind of particles or spark. I don't know what to make of that either. Like what's happening
Sounds
with
like a
that
John
too.
Carpenter movie.
I really, have you heard about this fog stuff?
Not very much about it. So
Yeah.
I would love you to enlighten me about that stuff.
George, do you know about the fog?
Oh yeah, it again became a viral topic out there, and you know, even down in Florida, particularly West Coast Florida, where they were talking about it. We had fog here as well, and I actually did a quick video out there going, if this is some sort of a deadly or dangerous fog that's happening right now, why aren't there birds dropping out of the sky? You know, and there's you know, and then you can sit there and go, well, it was chemically modified, so it only affects humans. And it's like, you know, somebody just came out with a video that talked about the fact that right now mask mandates are going back into effect with major cities because of the RSV COVID upkick and the flu. There's just a huge triple threat of what's happening right now, and people are correlating the fog to more people getting sick right now, and it's just it's just that season, that time of the year. So I don't invest that much into what they're saying with that. And again, that was what, 3 days ago, 2 days ago, and you don't hear anything anymore.
Hmm.
It's in the moment. People are living so much in the moment, and they're not gathering the information and trying to find out what's going on. And it's a little bit difficult to follow because it's like, a dog with the word squirrel. The minute that something else comes up, everybody turns their attention to that, and that's forgotten right away. I wish there was more focus on it to find out what it is. I mean, some of the videos out there, people shine the flashlights, and it was weird looking. It looked like an orb party. It's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. But to anything that I would see right now, again, the difference with the drones, it made it to national news. It made it to Washington. This fog, nothing was happening with regards to that. And I don't think that there's anything that, from an epidemic standpoint, has been shown out there on national media. There's nothing that I'm seeing that looks like it's a dangerous threat. I don't know. I'm still kind of taken aback by how quickly we jump into one thing and then right away into the next thing,
Yeah, I saw some footage. I believe it was out of Oregon of like a foamy. They had the big fog. She saw the sparkles, and there was this foamy stuff in her pool. Did you happen to see that one?
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. And then I saw reports in Illinois, I believe, and Florida. Of course, we have fog here, but my son's like, nope, it's just regular weather. Rain turning to snow and fog. But I don't know. I agree. I just think it's interesting. I mean, I have seen people panic a little bit, wanting to go buy gas masks and things like this. And I didn't know about the mask mandates going in effect again. Ugh.
Well, it doesn't take much to start those things up.
Yeah.
I mean, any kind of conspiracy theorist out there, everybody has access to the internet and social media now. And I guess what bothers me is when how many supposedly rational people retweet these things, and then it's like a Ponzi scheme. You know, you tell two and they tell two and they tell four. As far as, I'm just gonna ask an opinion. These drones, I mean, I don't say they didn't exist. I won't go that far, but is this a military exercise or is this private contractors? What do you think this is?
My intuitive gut says military, and it's known. And I mean, I know we've all heard the rumors that they're kind of searching for these dirty bombs or, something that came into the coast. I mean, maybe that's what it is, and they don't want to cause fear. They don't want to fear the public. I don't know. I don't think it's now. Let me just say this: there have been good reports of people seeing orbs and your typical, because I used to be Colorado MUFON state director and did the more. So we always have a continual stream of unidentified flying objects in our skies. And I think those have upticked because we have more eyes on the sky. And I do think we're still seeing these legitimately, but the vast majority of them are, probably military and known, and they know what's going on. They just don't want to share it. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, either that or they truly don't know.
Oh yeah, and if they don't, that's frightening. That's almost more frightening to me if they did know.
No, I say
what?
I say they're man-made, but when we're talking about black operations or black money, where there are people that are above and beyond even the military's purview, those type of organizations exist. So whatever it is that they're doing, you can only speculate, but I think that I would probably almost lean toward private corporations, some type of technology, because I heard about, the lost nuke and stuff, and someone who I know who would know said it's pretty much impossible, because if that were the case, there's only so much drones could do. There would be boots on the ground. There would be people running around in white suits. I mean, that's not a joke. They would be going door to door, and it's not like we don't want to panic the public. Now's the perfect time to panic.
Are there, I mean, I know for Colorado, we have, Northern Grumman, Lockheed Martin. We have we have 3 Lockheed Martins that kind of make a triangle. It's kind of interesting. But we have a lot of aerospace companies out here. Are there a lot of those in New Jersey as well? I'm not really familiar with that. I mean, what private companies would be flying them out of New Jersey and
Well,
Pennsylvania.
you have military bases, which probably the only way they factored in was the idea that they're flying over the military bases.
Okay.
I'm not saying they will launch from the military bases, but that was the concern. We have to go back to World War II for munitions dumps and things like that. They're all over the East Coast.
Mhm.
And for all we know, that they're abandoned now, or are they? And this goes from Long Island. Actually, it goes from like Virginia right up to Maine. Maine at one
Okay.
time had, I think, the largest arsenal in the world,
Wow.
And they don't anymore. But some of these places still active, quite possibly, it's one of those things we don't know and we're not supposed to know.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this, and then, when we're ready, we'll just move on and, tie a nice bow around this drone thing. But I got to ask you, public's reaction to drones. Okay. How do you see? Okay, we've seen the way we're reacting to these drones. How does this play into UAP disclosure? If someone says, oh, yeah, we don't know what these are, they're flying around, they're probably an exotic technology, nothing of Earth. But everybody wants disclosure, but they lost their minds over drones with propellers on them. So I'm conflicted there.
Right. It's an interesting thought experiment and makes one wonder, what if some of the rumors, we all know there's been rumors that, ETs are going to show up within the next year or two, and that was a year ago. So tick, 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 right?
Yeah.
What if they're flying these drones to see the public's reaction on what's going to happen when they do show up? And I'm conflicted like you are, because on one hand, yes, people were kind of like, oh my gosh, we need to do something. But then, just like George was saying, wait 5 days or 5 minutes and they're on to who cares? Like, nothing to see here. We can't figure it out. Let's move on to fog. Let's move on to the next thing. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And so that's what,
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it is like, let's see how the public's going to react to the drones. I've never really thought about that before until this very moment, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it could be a thought experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we might as well say that, because with the absence of the truth, we might. Let's start another conspiracy theory here. You and I, Katie, will put this out there.
All right. National news. Ken and Katie. Yeah. Get ready for ETs to land. Nobody cares.
That's right. But, all these existential threats, they're all going to bring us together. We couldn't handle a pandemic. You know how that turned out. We're like,
I still always have plenty of toilet paper on hand. I don't know about you all, but I still.
Oh, no, we're way past
You're paid past it.
We're way past that. But it's good to know that's, in case of an apocalypse, head to Katie's house.
Yes.
She's got plenty of toilet paper there.
Plenty. And a lot of trees. Wrong kind of leaves.
Ooh.
Pine needles are not good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, roughing it. All right. So now that we've solved the drone crisis, and that seems to be in our review mirror, I do want to talk a little bit about the ranch. And for those who didn't join us, maybe the first time you're on, who are new to the channel, thank you for subscribing. Basically, this ranch, the Rocky Mountain Ranch, give us a little background on the types of paranormal or UFO phenomena that typically you have witnessed, documented, or heard about on this particular ranch. So we're up to speed.
Okay, and I will just do the 2-minute quick intro of how I'm connected to it, because I think that's important. So my mother worked at Denver Tech Center in Colorado. She dated a gentleman by the name of Jack, worked for United Airlines, and he owned the ranch. So since the Denver Tech Center is quite a ways from where the ranch is in Elbert County, He and his 2 younger sons, they had 3 boys. They lived with us during the week, and we would commute back and forth to the ranch. So I did not live on the ranch full time. However, I spent weekends there going with the boys back and forth. So I'm 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. We're threatened and warned not to talk about what is happening out there. I never knew anybody knew anything about the ranch property. I never knew it was investigated. I have a big sister who is going to be on season 3 of Beyond Skinwalker with me, which is pretty exciting. Now I had to talk her into going on the show with me, and I'll get into that in a while, why, but it was really cool to go back there with her. And so she was a teenager at the time. There's the website. So one of the first things reported out there were these strange hum noises, a lot like the Taos hum, bangs underground, then bring in what my mom called white fuzzies. And so these are Sasquatch creatures. They were creatures like platypus type creatures seen on this property, large, strange birds seen at the property. We had the blacked out helicopters going on, so much so there was this whole, many reports, but this one in particular, the choppers and the choppers, they had the original document on that. And they were menacing people too. They were like chasing people out on their ranches and stuff, newspaper articles about them at the day. The biggest thing that was going on though at the time were the rash of mutilations at the time, the animal mutilations. That Linda Moulton Howe was an investigative journalist out there at the time. Come to find out later that she only lived a few miles down from our house in Englewood. It's called Englewood, but now it's called Centennial. So she was out there trying to get a handle on all these animal mutilations. We had interceptors scrambled in pursuit of a UFO. We had a military presence out there for sure. A lot of my research has uncovered that. We had a lot of paranormal things happening, things disappearing, ghostly sightings, UAPs flying on off the property. You name it, it's happening at the Elbert County Rocky Mountain Ranch location. So as a young girl, back in the day when I'm young, the hitchhiker phenomenon wasn't a thing. Nobody kind of put all that together yet. So I was experiencing things at my home, like dark shadow figures in my room and, footsteps and your typical paranormal activity. So that's been around me my whole life. And in fact, I was really hooked on and more interested in the paranormal side of things before the UFO type of things. Because I didn't connect them at all until, skinwalkers at the Pentagon started making those connections and realizing that people that visit the Skinwalker Ranch, and what I found really interesting, I'm a co-host on UAP Studies podcast with Jason Guillemette and Dr. Michael. And what's interesting is talking to George Knapp. He was telling us that when NIDS was on the property and you had, certain investigators there at the Skinwalker Ranch, clear back on the East Coast, their wives are having the hitchhiker phenomenon attached to them. And they don't even visit the ranch property. Their husbands are there, yet the wives are experiencing the hitchhiker phenomenon. I found that really fascinating. Crazy. What is that about? Yeah, that's crazy. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And ever since I've been trying to put together the pieces on, what's going on, how much of it is military black projects, how much of it is paranormal, and it's just going on and on and on and on. And then come to find out there's so many hotspots around the country and even around the world that are so similar to this. It's really compelling.
It's like, since this ranch now has become a thing, has the government or the military shown much interest in it going forward, current day?
That's up for debate. How do I want to answer this without? I've had a couple of interesting people who I feel like, and even to this day, like I just restarted up a meetup group in the Springs because I moved up closer to the Springs. And there's interesting people that I feel like are keeping an eye on the information that's coming out. I guess that's the best way to put it. So I don't know. I haven't crossed that threshold yet to where, maybe, like she hasn't said anything yet that we don't want out there. But I do feel like a sense of certainly in the past, when I started opening this door, I know for certain there were people that were kind of keeping an eye on what was coming out. And even when I sent FOIA requests, this happened. So here I am. I'm in Parker, Colorado, getting an emissions test for my youngest son. He just got his driver's license. He got his first car. The phone rings, and it's the United States Air Force. I'm like, holy shit. I guess I better take this call.
What did I do?
Yeah. Turns out it was the head of FOIA. He's been the head of FOIA for decades. And it was a 25-minute conversation asking what I want about this information. What am I investigating out there in Elbert County? What am I, blah, blah, blah. And here I am, kind of naive at the time, even though I'm like obviously into what I'm into if you just Google search me. But I was like, oh, I'm writing a paper on the history of Elbert County. And, I learned about these two A-7Ds that crashed. And I didn't say anything about UFOs or anything like that, but he kind of drilled me. And he said to me, I'll tell you what, if you want anything else from this area, I want you to call me directly. Don't even put in a report or don't file a FOIA. And I was like, oh, okay. And honestly, I just I haven't filed another FOIA request after that because I was like kind of weirded out by that whole phone call.
That kind of has a weird smell to it.
It really did. And then one time,
these are all things that have been declassified anyway. Why have I got to jump through these hoops?
Yeah, but
put a stamp on it, okay it, and send it to me.
Right, but so this is what I end up getting back. But if you look, I'll just show you. Hold on. I mean,
careful, there's not a white powder in that thing.
Oh my gosh. It probably got me a long time ago. Maybe that's what the rash was. But so many of this is just still so redacted out. I mean, just chunks and chunks. Right when the story gets juicy, it's like, oh, I gotta know the truth. And something else. So this was about the November 11th, 1975. If we could talk about this a minute, because I think it's such a cool thing. So I found out through my research that there were two A-7Ds scrambled out of Buckley, which is now Space Force, in pursuit of a UFO over Elbert County, during the height of the mutilations. So that's what this report is about. The two pilots ejected, they both survived, on and on. Interesting, though, in here I find out that the instructor's 8 of his cockpit instrumentation panel lights malfunctioned, which is interesting. The cause of the crash is interesting as well. So the whole thing's crazy. So then later in my research, I found out that on November 11th, 1975, so the same day, the United States Air Force admits to scrambling 2 F-106 Delta Darts. So they're watching several unknown UFOs or UFOs at the time on radar at Falcon Bridge, Ontario in Canada, going over the Great Lakes, Michigan, 35 nautical miles. They're shooting from like 26,000 feet up to, I believe, 74,000 feet. Many airmen and women are watching these things, and civilians and police officers. So they decide to scramble 2 jets on that same day. So I'm at Contact in the Desert last year, and I'm talking to Travis Walton, and I'm telling him about, the 4 jets now scrambled on that same day. And I told him, I'm like, I also know, Travis, that you were returned from your abduction encounter just right after midnight on November 11th, 1975, that same day.
Right.
And he goes, yeah. And you know what else happened on November 11th, 1975? The Edmund Fitzgerald went down on the Great Lakes and 29 men went missing.
Oh.
All on the same day.
Coincidence?
Coincidence? I think not.
Coincidence?
So it's a very interesting day. What the heck was going on November 11th, 1975? I do believe that they have found one of the remains of one of the sailors on the Edmund Fitzgerald recently, like in the last few years. But still, Travis Walton's returned. All these jets are being scrambled. The Air Force admitted to it. And I don't think that was the only incident out of that area of Ontario, Canada. So
that's an
interesting stuff.
Where connecting the dots isn't a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. This is how crimes are solved. What does this correlate to this, and what does this correlate to that? And there's either a there, or there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's what keeps me going.
let me ask you this: how does, and I don't know what the local community, the nearest house may be 100 miles away, but how does the local community deal with something like this in their space? This ranch. Does everybody just kind of look at it and sort of whisper about it, or does everybody just go about their business and
Mhm. Well,
So
that was one of my kind of stressors, I suppose. So what had happened was before COVID, I had left a note in the box because it's a gated community and I didn't know the new owners. So I left a note explaining who I was and my connection to the property, not knowing if they experienced anything, if they knew anything about the history, anything. Then COVID hit, shutdown happened, and I wasn't going to just call them on the phone and lay all this heavy stuff on them. So after COVID and things start opening up, I get a call from History Channel. I had told them, I don't remember how all that worked actually. Did I tell them about the ranch? Somehow they found out about the ranch. They called me, they made contact with the people, and they said, the first time you go back and meet them, I want the cameras rolling. So when you see that first episode on Beyond Skinwalker, that is legitimately my first time back setting foot on that property and meeting the people that live there. And so you film for a whole week for 44 minutes for an episode. So there's a lot of footage there of us getting to know each other, them throwing out, pictures of what the ranch looked like. Cause it was dusk when I got there and I was worried that it was going to be dark because I wanted to see what I could remember from when I was little. I mean, I'm pretty young, like 9, 10, 11, 12. And I knew the house was in the same place, but I knew it looked differently. I recognized the tree in the back and where the corral was and the ranch and other things and the pond, but the house looked different. And it was so cool for him to pull out the pictures of when they bought the house, because what they did is they kept the remaining little house and they built an addition out to the left and to the right and to the front and put different siding on it. But the original house remained within it. So when you see me doing that radio experiment, we're on that little front sunroom and they put the crystal radios and stuff in that original part of the house. And they had that ham radio, tried to communicate with something that was there. And it was astounding to me to finally, David Carr's like, hey, what about Katie trying? So they, had the operator do the thing. And I, were I like, hey, remember me? And and what's crazy to me too, is they didn't put in the episode that I repeated that 3 or 4 times because they were bringing the other crew in from outside. While that's going on though, and what I thought would make the episode and didn't, there was like almost like CB radios or some type of radios underneath where the ham radio is. And we were getting transmissions about the Vietnam War at that same time. And like EVP sounds going, we're back. And also in the original part of the house, there's like clicking, like almost Morse code clicking. And I was told that Travis Taylor and them were listening to those clicks inside the house. So none of that made the episode. And I was like, wow, just like the whole David Morehouse remote view, they did the biggest remote view in the history there on that ranch property. And it didn't even make that first episode. They had like an extra little out bonus clip of it. And they finally brought him back in for season 2, where he kind of touches on it. But they had over 70 remote viewers from several different countries remote view that property. So it's interesting what I think what they do though is they need the Beyond Skinwalker to kind of flow with the Skinwalker Ranch series, so it all has to be cohesive. So certain things are left out, like the strange disappearing boxes. They haven't even touched on the boxes.
This is the problem with production crews. They're doing Return to Skinwalker this month, and then next month they're going to be shooting a biography on Abraham Lincoln.
Oh.
In other words, they don't have that dog in the fight where they say, we need to put this on. They'll look at it through the lens of, yeah, but is it, does it really tell the story? And so I hope that footage is, still around somewhere.
Yeah.
Katie, I want to bring George back in, take us to the top of the hour. I know we're going to get into the paranormal on the backside, but I do have another UFO question that I'll put in my back pocket for now. So bring George back in, and I'll see you after the commercial. Bye, y'all.
Thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate that. Katie Paige, a very special guest tonight, and I thank you for taking time out of your schedule to do this. And I want to kind of go down a rabbit hole in a different realm, and that is the USPs, the unidentified submerged phenomena that's occurring there.
Mhm.
How much uh, have you already invested into looking at what has been put out there? I mean, it's changing fast and furious,
Mhm.
month by month, from discoveries to testimonies, and we kind of find ourselves in a place right now of wondering, percentage wise, how much it is subterrestrial versus extraterrestrial. Where do you fall on that fence?
I think it makes a lot of sense to me. And this goes back, I mean, you can read decades worth of history of the submerged objects and the fast movers, and the Navy connection has always fascinated me. My grandfather and my father both being Navy. So that's interesting as well. Debbie Ziegelmeyer, I don't know if she had a co-author, but just wrote a phenomenal book on that topic. And in all fairness, being in Colorado, we're not a coastal state, so
Far from it.
I'm far from the oceans. But a lot of what I've read and heard and talked with others about, it just makes a lot of sense to me that they're living here, not only in oceans, but in mountains and underground,
Well,
not coming very far.
no, Mark D'Antonio has been on the show, and we talked about
Mhm.
the abilities to travel fifth dimensionally. And so traveling from the ocean to a place like Colorado would be virtually instantaneous. So
Mhm.
it's not an issue whatsoever for them. But from a evolutionary standpoint, is it a possibility? And this is something that I've addressed before with Mark and with others as well. A theory that I have and have had, and I'm sure that some of the regular listeners are probably going to roll their eyes, going, "George is going down that rabbit hole again," but I have to. I've always kind of brought up when it came to Bigfoot about an evolutionary split at some point in time early on in man. Um, there was a percentage who went into the caves, they created tools, they provided shelter, and they eventually lost their hair. Just a different way of survival. No different than how the brown bear eventually became the polar bear out of survival and hunting. This was an evolutionary thing. But what if there was a second offshoot that went into the mountains and just coexisted with nature? Their hair stayed long, if not longer. They grew bigger for survival. And that is the offshoot of Bigfoot. What if there's a third, that particular part of evolution that never left the water? It didn't crawl onto land and eventually become man, but in fact, it just stayed there and evolved. And that capability working in concert with the elements of water to the point in time where the sophistication is so high that this didn't originate by something landing in the ocean that's extraterrestrial, but in fact was naturally created right here on Earth. The possibilities of that. I want your thoughts on that. And it's something that I just recently found out about and discovered too. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called the immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis dorni. It doesn't die. Uh,
Oh.
it can die if by a predator or certain natural elements, but it doesn't die of old age. It doesn't grow to a certain point in time and then perish. It rejuvenates its
Simple.
cells and comes back again. You think about if there are intelligent creatures that know how to utilize that capability, and you wonder, and people have talked about for a while now, I'd say in the last 3 to 5 years, how jellyfish, octopi, they
Mhm.
just seem to
Growing
be
on.
very alien in nature. So
They
you
do.
wonder as to whether or not there is something connected to that. That theory thrown at you, how much sticks?
Oh gosh, quite a bit actually. It makes a lot of sense. And as you're talking, I'm getting this picture of us splitting off, some staying under the ocean, and it
Yeah.
would make a lot of sense. They're not so distracted. It seems like they would evolve technologically, maybe perhaps even faster than we would because they have less distraction underwater. Maybe I don't know. But
Yes.
as far as the Sasquatch go, living underground, I mean, even on Beyond Skinwalker that first night, where we jump over the barbed wire fence, and it's snowing hard. It's coming down fast. So our footprints are getting covered really fast with snow. And out of this just blanket of snow are these bipedal prints that walk for a while and then disappear for quite a while and then reappear and then disappear, as if something came up from underground. And that begs the question, is there a species living underground? And even I've thought about this even with Mount Wilson Ranch and talking with Jeff McBurney and that cave that's on his property that sounds hollow. He was standing in the back of the cave and it sounded like maglev trains running under, where his whole body just vibrated. That was reported out at the ranch. These sounds and bangs underground. Are they coming out of New Mexico, into the Springs, NORAD? Are they headed out east are they connecting these bases underground? I don't know. But also, I've given this a lot of thought, and I'm not the first one. There's been a lot of magazine and books that say, are Sasquatch an alien species of themselves? Are they flying the craft? Are they working with the animal mutilations? Cows, bulls, these are large animals, and they're not all done by humans. I know maybe there's a percentage that are, but this has been going on for over 55 years with no conclusions, and they're amping up again. Even in Elbert County, we're still getting reports of animal mutilations. If you just saw Investigation Alien, George Knapp series, that first episode is awesome, where they talk to the ranchers in Oregon and the things, 5-generational rancher seeing UFOs, having circles on the ground. Another thing in Elbert County we had, and animal mutilations with the elk, where that thing's just kind of floating behind it. It's like, what is that? Wow. So it makes sense to me, George. That makes complete sense.
I binged that whole series, by the way.
I did too, twice.
Yeah, I got into it.
We have to go to break. We're at the top of the hour. But when we come back, as Ken mentioned, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of your stories, we're going down the realm of spirit phenomena, something that you're very, very familiar with. So you're not just the one-trick pony everybody always says that you are. You have so much more diversity and depth, and we want to definitely approach that. So we're going to be back in 3 minutes, guys. Stay with us. You're watching Dead or Live on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. We'll be back right after this break.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hi, my name's Bill. I'm 33. I like curvy girls. I have a dog. Her name is Precious. She's my world. My hobbies include midnight strolls, collecting insects, kind of nerdy, I know, but it's what I'm into. Making my own clothing and dancing when nobody's looking. Dry skin is a deal breaker. Love Bath & Body works for the sole reason that their lotion comes in a basket. And finally, I date me.
And the Patreon Town Hall is back 2025. First show of the new year tomorrow night. Make sure you guys do come and check it out. $3 memberships. You definitely want to check out all of the content that's on our Patreon account, guys. Looking forward to seeing you there. Please sign up. Again, Dead Air Paranormal on Patreon. So really appreciate that. And welcome back to the second hour. A very special guest, Katie Paige, is here with us. I guess Katie was letting you know she sent you an email. Did you get that?
Yeah, it's uploading right now as we speak.
Very sweet. We're going to dive right into it with the paranormal because there was a question in chat, and I told her to hang on, but I'll bring it up. Mostly, Candace focuses because you're closest to this most recent video. Hello, new here. This is Carla L. Found your channel because of your Cody and Satori videos. Can you comment on the new experiments they just completed since you posted the first barefoot sessions? Thank you kindly. Ken, what new video are they talking about, and what is your impressions on it? I'll maybe give mine. I don't know.
Okay. A young man named Tyler Reynolds. You can find him on YouTube at Tyler Reynolds TV. He did some experiments with the couple barefoot and at some point standing in water to try to disprove all the stories out there that somehow they're manipulating their bodies somehow to make these sounds on the floor. About a year ago, we kind of did the same thing. I was aware that this video was filmed. I was aware it was going to be released, and like everybody else, I watched it for the first time myself yesterday. So we didn't have anything to do with this. I personally didn't. I watched it like everybody else did. My thoughts on it are just simply, I've been in the room and we've done experiments like this that no one has any kind of access to, because we don't put them out there. We do them within the scope of paranormal investigation. where we try different things. And so this is why I support what they do, because I've seen these things firsthand, being in the room, tested them, and that's my position on that. And I know that these things bring controversy, and I think that that is accepted at this point, that these kind of things are going to happen. Frankly, I don't really give it a lot of mind anymore, because even some of the comments on this are recycled comments where people are saying the same things they did a year ago. One of the things that came out was there weren't enough cameras on this. A year ago, we used 6 cameras and a 360-degree camera, and that wasn't enough. That wasn't good enough. So at some point, you just cut it loose, and people gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna say what they're gonna say. And personally, as someone who goes into this as an observer and does these kind of investigations with them, I don't really have the energy to, deal with whatever everybody is saying or doing or what they feel about these things. The only thing that I would preach is, keep it kind. It's okay to question things, but, when we start getting into character assassinations, that's not skepticism. That's just bias. Okay, it's not the same as being a skeptic and questioning the claims, when we start making it personal. So, I mean, beyond that, this is something that they wanted to do, and they felt they wanted to do with this young man, Tyler Reynolds, and perfectly okay with me. But like I say, I have been there and done that. As far as experiments and different things, and I just don't feel the need anymore to unburden myself. Well, we did this, we did that, we did this, because once a narrative takes place, that's it. That's the narrative,
Right.
and nobody's going to change their mind. That's part of the paranormal. It's part of cryptozoology. It's part of ufology, where we take our experiencers and just, try to minimize what people experience. So,
Yeah.
I just say, have at it, entertain yourselves, enjoy it, whatever. But they're not, they're not compromising anybody out there by doing this. But, you can scream it to the heavens, and, it doesn't make a dent in it. So beyond that, I don't have any thoughts on it. We had nothing to do with it. We've done it before, and in my mind, we've kind of moved on to whatever it is the next thing we're interested in. So that's it.
Yeah. Katie, I just messaged you off air if you were familiar with this, and you said no. I won't go into detail here on the show because that is an elongated conversation between you and Ken on the phone. I will leave it at that. But I will say just simply this. We live in a society of yeah buts. And that's the problem with anything going out there on social media. And I'm not just focusing on these two wonderful kids and just trying to be as transparent as they possibly can, willing to do experiments, willing to test out different things. Yeah, but he's a friend. Yeah, but you didn't do this. Yeah, but you don't have enough cameras. Yeah, but that could go into every category out there with regards to the unexplained. Yeah, but these drones make noise. Yeah, but these drones could be this, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting to try to say here and provide to the world when the world is just going to shit on you. That's just what they're going to do.
And it's getting worse with CGI and AI. You don't know what people wrote, and what AI wrote, and what it's just, it's to the point now you have a sensational photo and you're like, is this even real? It's hard to tell anymore. So it's just getting more convoluted. And that's the problem with the paranormal. And you get to a point where it's frustrating as somebody who's experienced unusual things throughout my life, pretty often actually. And I could here's a good example. One night we're at the new house. Tensions are kind of high. Things are happening. We're sitting on the couch, and in the room, it's like literally right down here. We had 4 magnetic pictures on the wall. 3 of them fly off, and we hear this crash. We're like, "What is that?" 3 of the pictures fly off the wall at the same time, and I take pictures of it, and it was incredible. I mean, stuff like this happens to me all the time. But had I just posted those pictures out on social media, then like you could just fake that. You could just throw pictures on the ground and go, whoa. And I don't have to prove to anybody at this point in time in my life what I experience all the time. And it's so interesting to me because I have had this kind of activity throughout my life where my sister, she's had some, but she hasn't, but she doesn't want it. Same with my kids. My kids, some of them have had some unusual things, especially my youngest son. Some of them have not. So why are some people dialed in to experience the paranormal and others are not? That's a question I've always had. And then you get into the whole spirituality thing of it. Oh my gosh, especially, on the ranch, I got this like handprint radiation burn on my shoulder that blistered. It was hot to the touch. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's a demonic spirit. I don't feel like anything negative's attached to me. I almost feel in a way protected and guided. And I have wonderful synchronicities in my life. And I always go in with really good, pure intentions. I don't like, I know there's a lot of people who are worried that even with UFOs, UAP, that it's somehow demonic in nature. And I don't say I have the answers to that, but I certainly don't feel like I have negative things attached to me in that way. And of course, you have to be careful what you wish for, what you ask for, and go in with the right intentions and the right state of mind and have the utmost respect for people on the other side or spirits on the other side, because there's certainly much more to our physical bodies. That I'm certain of. I've just experienced way too much to not believe that we go on after we leave these bodies.
Yeah. I mean, how do I put this? The easier thing is to tell you what something isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the pictures that flew off your wall. I could give you 50 reasons they flew off your wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
The harder part is to explain how it is possible and to keep taking that dive, as long as you don't allow yourself to just fall into it, because you have to stay objective. You can't have that confirmation bias. But like I say, it's easy to say how something isn't possible because there are a million reasons, and that's fine, and I respect it. And you have to consider those reasons.
Well, was it an earthquake? You could go down the checklist. Yeah, right.
Yeah, when you know, okay, this is something that I can't explain. It's a lot more difficult to say, well, let me try to figure that part of it out.
The only thing that makes sense to me, and I'm leaning more and more to that, and same with the UFOs and the abduction experience, or people who have, who believe they've had contact with extraterrestrials or whatever they're having contact with. Why it varies so often from experiencer to experiencer is that we are active participants in the activity. I mean, we have a role in manifesting what's happening. And I'm sure Ken and George, you guys know as paranormal investigators and all the work you've done, that it does matter your state of mind and the group of people that you may be with that will influence what happens.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be. It has to be a sense where when you are an investigator and you go out there, as you said, that there's respect involved with the contact of what it is you're doing. And again, getting back to the social media side of it, and and normal TV media that's out there, it's more entertaining to be dramatic. It's more entertaining to be provocative for the viewer, not necessarily for the spirits. Damn not. It's like,
Maybe they like it too.
it's like getting 200 people to come out to the ranch, and on the count of three, let's all flip a bird to the sky, because that'll get a good reaction out of them. Stupidity, and they should be burned to crisp by a laser at that point in time. But it's one of those things that, again, we have tried to preach. Ken, particularly with Rise of Paranormal, going into residential cases. I haven't done residential cases in nearly 20 years, but it still is a calling. But you have people who are in this field for the simple aspect of views and likes. And every single night you go on social media and somebody's doing a live investigation somewhere. And in the midst of that investigation, are they focused on contact with the spirit? Are they focused on listening and watching to see what they can make contact with? No. Hey guys, just a few more likes to get to 5,000 views. We get if I get 5,000 views, I'll go in the basement by myself. And it's like, screw you, because you're screwing this field. And you're screwing yourself, because these spirits are not going to want to interact with you. So it's an ugly, ugly spiraled downward crash that we're making with this field. Generally, not everyone, but generally, you're seeing people who are not really investigators play the role of investigators on their own little mini TV show, and it's frustrating.
I would rather do what I do. I get to actually go into the field and do this stuff, which is all I ever really wanted to do anyway. So I'm already living the dream, and get to do this where interesting people like Katie and a lot of people we're able to come in and speak to them, because we don't travel the country going to conferences and things like that. But these are the two things I love to do: talk to people, get their perspective on things that I think are interesting, and I hope the audience does too. And I get to go out and live it and, do cases that I can't talk about because they involve people and families and stuff like that. So no, I'm not putting everything out there
Right.
that
It
we've
is.
ever done, because, I respect people's privacy. But anyway, Carla, we appreciate the question. I know that it was asked and posed by a few people in chat, so hopefully, that's our perspective on it.
Now, if you join our Patreon town hall on Monday, that's when you hear us really get candid and open about this stuff and what our true feelings are.
That's where we start cussing.
Exactly. Katie, so you're talking about polar opposites, realistically, between UFO research and spirit phenomena. One is extremely tangible. You either see it or you don't. When it comes to UFOs, if you go out there and you don't see anything all night long, there's nothing to record. But when it happens, it's there. It's in your face. When it comes to paranormal investigating, particularly about spirit phenomena, it can be a test of patience. It can certainly be one of honing in on your senses to a degree that no one does in any other aspect of life, to be able to pick up every nuance of sound, sight, your peripheral view, smells, even for that matter. Is it for you a complete switch within you when you go from one to the other? And have you ever done one simultaneously with the other?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It may seem at the surface like they're very much opposed to one another, and one's very tangible and the other one is not. That's not necessarily true, because you have a lot of experiencers out there that have an inner dialogue, or they believe to be channeling something, downloading something, experiencing different types of ET entities that are kind of more ghost-like in nature. Like, for example, tying these tall shadow figures. Like I've had people ask me in the past, how do you differentiate an ET shadow figure or a hitchhiker from, let's say, the Rocky Mountain Ranch, Skinwalker Ranch, and like a ghost of grandma or grandpa or whoever. And the difference to me, what I've noticed is typically a human ghost, if you want to call them that, come usually in one. But typically in an ET experience, you're going to have two or three that are kind of, it's just a different feeling. And then you have people who are channeling like Ashtar Command. And that. Now I'm not saying I don't have an opinion either way on, it's just like psychics, right? Do we believe psychics have an ability? Do we have people communicating with ET? I'm not going to judge you on that. Everybody has their own experiences with that. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But that kind of goes into that realm of fuzziness where it's not just a structured craft. And in fact, I kind of had to fight that battle within MUFON for a while there, because I really wanted to focus on that nuts and bolts physical craft aspect, the propulsion systems. And that's important, but you can't deny that you have locations where you're having strange orbs and UFOs and, you know, the cryptids and the paranormal, these high strangeness locations. You can't deny that that's not existing or that's not happening. So that's where it gets a little fuzzy for me. And that bridge is kind of connecting, you know, the paranormal and the UFOs.
Shadow wise, then you're talking, if it's aliens, dimensional portal. If it's spirits, veil portals. Would you subscribe then to the possibility that in those experiences, could there be, with a dimensional portal, some sort of biological effect on the person participating and or witnessing, such as nausea, unbalanced things, confusion, things of that sort? Would that fall more so under the dimensional portal?
For sure. I mean, we have reports, just that study that just came out, the side effects of close encounters with ET. I mean, some of them are physical, where you have like the burns, the radiation burns, the headaches, migraine headaches, weird kind of different physical effects. A lot of people that have close ET encounters or close craft encounters will later develop like autoimmune deficiencies and things like this. So yes, there's ill effects to that. Kind of similar sometimes to very poltergeist types of activities where they get the headaches and the shaking and the physical effects like that, temperature drops in body and that kind
disorientation,
of dizziness, right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Ken, you and I have both come across people, Ken, who have had very similar experiences during an investigation. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure. I think there's commonalities, but I think that every one is its own fingerprint. You know what I mean? To some degree. Because I think that correlations between ufology and, you know, we'll just call it paranormal investigation because I can't stand ghost hunting. I don't know what we're thinking, but I think methodologies and techniques can be shared with both of those things. And let's look at it this way. And I had this talk with Mark D'Antonio one day. We were both doing a MUFON presentation. And in between, we were started to talk about, you know, speeds of UFOs, how they just boom, boom, and then they drop from 50,000 feet to 200 feet above the water, like the Tic Tac thing. Are we really talking about velocity and propulsion, or are we talking about interdimensional travel? Because, in other words, I put a pin in this location, and then I put a pin in this location down here. And I want to get from here to here. Does that mean I have to go 10,000 miles an hour? Or does it just mean that I go from here to here with no taxing on my physical being? Like my face isn't ripped off with G forces or anything like that.
Right. It's nice and cozy inside that anti-gravity bubble, right? And it's maybe a thought projection, just boom, boom. And we're seeing that more and more, right? We're seeing, a ball or orb of light here, and then all of a sudden it bursts up or it just shows up here and here. Some of my best videos from the MUFON cases are that, just where you're seeing it, and then boom, it's over here. Right. And now our cameras, they're picking up different infrared light spectrums, and they're able to pick up more than they used to, or the technology's getting great. And there's a particular video out where you're kind of focused on this crazy kind of a very similar thing where it's here and then it's here, and then over here on this side of the screen you're seeing a whole other phenomenon. And I think you're right. I don't think it's like G-forces. I think it's just either thought projections or some wormhole, something's going on.
What we have a tendency to do is project ourselves and what we know on whatever phenomena we witness, because we're just the smartest species going, right?
It.
I would rather spend my time going after things that we can't totally understand and we haven't cataloged yet. And that's, I think, where the conflicts takes place, because science as we know it is always trying to quantify and catalog these things based on what we know. Well, it's why it's called the paranormal. It's psychological, it's environmental, it's geological, it's atmospheric, and I understand all of that. But on occasion there are things that we have not cataloged yet. There are a lot of things we don't know about, but we tend to only project what we do know or what we think we know on phenomena that falls outside of known science. And I think it makes sense. And if we look at the paranormal, how spirits, I don't know how anybody wants to define a ghost or spirit, have at it, but why we're here and we're there and come and go and things happen, and then when we ask for them to happen again, they never happen. So if we look at that and the possibility that we're talking, when we say interdimensional travel, it's not like some kind of weird Buck Rogers thing. It's just the idea to go from here to here. Let's look at the Tic Tacs, right, Katie? When Dave Fravor was in his plane and this thing, and then he's chasing this thing around, and they have a cap point, a meetup point after whatever mission they're on. The Princeton radar says that object you saw is at your cap point now.
Yeah.
So how do we get from here to here? Are we going a million miles an hour, or we just say, I'm here. Okay, see ya. Now I picked a dot out on the grid, and now I want to be there.
Yeah. And let's not forget, too, that there is something to, I know it's controversial, but I've seen it done. I've done it myself a few times, where you can literally, just like with spirits, because it's so trickster in nature. We're dealing with trickster behaviors from both of these phenomena. Yeah. But people claim that they could call them in. Chris Bledsoe, for example, with his interactions, can call these things at will. And other folks say that they can do that as well. And what's that? How are we able to do that? I think all those reasons you gave of possibilities, is it our own projections? Is it supernatural? Is it environmental? It could be a combination of all of the above in this magical kind of combination, but I do think we are an important observer in all of these things.
Right. Well, I mean, by projection, we talk about the Nordics, right? All these races of aliens. The Nordics are blonde and blue-eyed, and they look just like us. They're the good ones. The ugly reptilian grays, they're the bad guys. So there's almost like this beauty and ugly sort of projection that, they look like us, so they're good. But these are the foreigners over here. They're bad.
I don't buy into that.
don't really buy-
I struggle when somebody puts good and bad in baskets. I just struggle with that.
I know, but again, it's the projection.
Right.
If something is ugly, therefore we equate that with bad and evil.
Yeah.
You
In
know,
the eye of the beholder, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
we had a question here, and I was gonna kind of get to this. Tim Trummel says, for all of us, do you think paranormal, UFOs, and cryptozoology are connected? I guess this would be the unified paranormal theory that we're talking about. I don't know. There are instances where I could say yes, and there are instances where I'm not 100% sold on it. So you guys can kind of take that one.
I say 100% yes, just based on my life experiences on the ranch. I can't put them in different baskets. It's just that.
Yeah, but the thing is, Katie, not so much that it can exist concurrently. Like, here's a UFO, here's a Bigfoot, here's Nessie. Do they all tie in somehow? I guess.
Yeah, I guess if I had to break it down to that, just based on my experience, and this isn't true across the board, but my experience put Sasquatch and UFOs together with these strange boxes. Now, can I say the paranormal things that are happening in the house are separate from that connection? Yes, I can. Maybe that's something altogether different. Maybe it's because these are highly magnetized areas with certain quartz crystals, just like at the Stanley Hotel, and certain aquifers and water. And so it creates the paranormal alongside the other stuff. I could see that. But for me, the Sasquatch and the UFOs were certainly connected on the ranch, and the circles on the ground, and those kind of weird occurrences, and the boxes and the sounds. But maybe the paranormal, maybe you could put that aside. I don't know. But then how do you describe, how do you connect in the hitchhiker effect then if it's separate? I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a really good question.
I'm gonna make this as simple as possible. It's a question of, is the Sasquatch an alien, or have aliens made a deal with Sasquatch? I guess
workers, bodyguards, maybe. I don't.
Well, if you look at animal behavior, this is weird. A crow will fly to a wolf, land on the wolf, and peck the wolf to make the wolf aware that there's prey in the area, because the crow eventually wants scraps. So somehow in their evolution, these animals have learned to kind of
work together.
It's like pilot fish on a whale, but they'll alert them. I can see a rabbit there, and you can go get it or whatever's there. And this way I get to eat too. I get the scraps. It's smart. So it's not out of their own possibility.
Yeah. Smart.
You're welcome, Tim.
I don't know. I have this. It's not an angst. I'm not angry about it, but it's frustrating that humans tend to equate or diminish the intellect of anything that they do not understand. So Sasquatch obviously must be an animal. It couldn't possibly have a higher intellect than us. Look what we've built. Look what we've done in the world. Look what we're doing to the world. These UAPs, these aliens, we'll constantly say, yeah, well, they must be sophisticated. Look what they've been able to create. But yet we think of them on our level, which is insane to even comprehend. So I could subscribe to what Ken is saying also there, and what you're saying, that if these cryptids, and again, you have UFOs that are appearing on the East Coast, you never hear UFO / Sasquatch. Never. It's always somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere in the Northwest that tends to be more of a common issue. Ken,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
okay,
that's a
Yep.
big one
well,
where
big wooded areas too.
one followed by the other, and I'm sure there's other.
They're good
Stan
example.
Gordon, Stan Gordon's book, Ohio,
Gordon.
Ohio, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he talks about it.
Thank you. I drew a blank on Stan.
So the fact that the Sasquatch lives in harmony with nature instead of destroying it may be a big factor behind the coordination, if you will. That there could be some sort of a not just a cosmic, I think, but an organic connection. That these things that travel from underwater or travel from outer space that come here would seek out those higher intellect creatures, including maybe dolphins and octopi, because we are a lost cause.
Well,
It's 2025, and look at the carnage going on in our world right now.
Yeah, well, if you look at the cryptid field, whether they're legend or someone thinks they've seen them, name one even in mythology that destroys the environment.
Really can't. Yeah.
They live off nature. You know,
On the ranch, in the investigative report here that I got, I didn't see any extraterrestrial beings there, but the other adults at the time claimed to, and there claimed to be two types on the ranch property at the time: the Nordic, your blonde, blue-eyed Nordics, and these tubey guys with the tube and the wrinkles, and they had this like protective thing on their chest, and your Paul Giamatti named them the tubey guys when I did the show, and it kind of stuck. But they said they were in conflict with one another. And in my mind, these strange boxes that are seen there and other locations as well, the Carl Higdon case and many other cases, could be an AI type ET. And the Nordics are not AI, and the conflict may be where humanity's heading. Is that what the conflict is over? Because basically the message was, don't mind us. We're here doing whatever it is they are doing there or continue to do there. And they're having their own conflict. And maybe they can steer us certain ways, or maybe they have boundaries or rules how they can interact. Because the question always is, if they're out there, why aren't they saying hello? Right. Maybe just like in the spiritual realm, like I just lost my mother a few months back. And I've had some interesting interactions since she passed. That's what I sent you. I communicated with her with the lights, kind of like in Stranger Things. But that only happened on 2 weekends and then nothing. And, I'm just like, hey, Mom, she's 92. She was ready to go. Her body no longer served her well. I felt like time for you to go, Mom. But I'm like, where did you go now? Like things happened right after her passing. And same when my dad passed as well. I experienced things with my dad much longer than with my mother. So I don't know if my mom is just busy and having a great time, or she's keeping an eye on or what the rules are. But, not to be funny, but kind of funny. We had the big Powerball or Mega Millions or whatever. I'm like, Mom, okay, here's the ticket I just got. Suck yourself down into that machine. Turn them little balls. But there must be rules. Yeah, there must be rules. And I think it's true with ET. There must be some sort of boundaries or universal law that is keeping both spirits and ETs from interacting with us as a species. There has to be. Otherwise, we'd all be hitting the Mega Millions all the time.
But that's the thing, Katie. Would you, if you were blessed, gifted, abducted, and given the knowledge that these extraterrestrials have, would you want to make contact with this society?
If I felt there was hope. maybe they don't feel like there's any hope.
I ask again. That's the conundrum. I mean, more than anything else, is that we are our own worst enemies. I mean, we are fear driven, more so I think in the last 50 years than ever before. We are fear driven, but we are also greed driven, power driven, and we're seeing more and more of that emerge from our society. I'm not saying that this should be an end of us. There's kindness in this world. There's generosity in this world, but it's just unfortunately overshadowed all too much. And maybe that's that glimmer of hope that you're talking about that keeps us from being wiped off the face of the earth. But again, I've used this many times before. You give me the perfect scenario. You're up on the ranch, and a vehicle crashes on the ranch property. What's the very first thing that's going to happen? What's going to appear?
The military.
If a Bigfoot is captured and somebody actually goes to their local news in their little township and they show pictures of it, who's going to show up?
Probably the military.
It's constantly, how can we weaponize whatever it may be? And it's a shame of the matter that we have to always look on those terms. But I mean, there's a great probability / possibility that, again, if there were in fact times that these Sasquatch were in mortal danger of man, by some way, shape, or form, somebody was able to get a potluck shot off and take one out. That's going to be completely shut down and completely wiped from the memory of everyone by the military, because they're going to make sure that that's not something that becomes the next great big hunting ground.
Right.
Because they're going to look at how can we weaponize it? How does that benefit us from our government, kind of thing? So, because again, we talk about UFOs, we talk about Bigfoot, we talk about spirits. That's worldwide. It's not just America.
Right. It took me a while to get. I kind of, on the spectrum of things, I'm like all in on ghosts. Like I've had too many experiences with that. UFOs, abduction, aliens. I'm still back and forth. I'm still on the fence. Is it ours? Is it something else? Sasquatch was the last thing. I was like totally not into the cryptid worlds at all. Loch Ness Monster, that was just a little thing on a board. Like there's no such thing, so it's taken me a long time to kind of go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe there is something to this Bigfoot sensation. Here I am in the Rocky Mountains, right in the heart. I actually had land in Bailey, which it was very active. I smelled something horrible. It was an interesting encounter, but I've come around. There's just like with UFOs, there's so many people that seem like credible, good, down to earth people that have these unexplained encounters. So there's something going on. I don't know what the answers are, but.
Well, if you had 1 million UFO reports and you had 1 million reports, right?
We do.
And let's say in each case, one of them was totally legit, and there are many more than that, but for the purpose of conversation, if one of them is legitimate and there's documentation that can be proven, why would we dismiss it the way we do?
Yeah, good question, because I feel like there's several really awesome multi-witness cases with really good footage. I mean,
Absolutely. The unfortunate part is that the internet has really screwed us, because just basic editing skills can create some pretty wild stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about spirit communication, and this is probably a good lead-in. So, Katie, I'm going to play this video you sent.
I don't know if you want to play the whole thing. Let me tell you what happened first.
It's 1:53 seconds long. Believe me, that's.
Oh, okay. All right. Are you talking about my light encounter with my mom?
Red lights.
Mom. Yeah. Let me set it up, because this is what happened. So my mom had just recently passed. It was like 3 weeks after her passing. My middle son, Jesse, and his girlfriend, we were all sitting on the back patio enjoying a nice night. I have a string of 12 lights that hang outside. They're outdoor lights. Well, on this particular evening, 5 of the lights started acting kind of, and I'm like, are they like malfunctioning. I'm always trying to debunk what this is. So I'm like, oh, Mom, is it, and the lights started like doing a little white flash, 2 questions. And then I'm like, well, Mom, if this is you, can you make those 5 lights go red? It wasn't like 6 of the lights, half of the string, or 12 of the lights. It was 5 lights,
Right.
and they would blink red. During this, it probably lasted 5-7 minutes. Nobody thought to take a video or a picture or anything. We were just stunned by what was happening.
Right.
So fast forward to the next weekend, and I'm thinking, why didn't we take out our phones and capture this? So the next weekend, I'm just sitting on the couch, and I have the 2 blinds drawn in the house, and I see the lights starting to change through the blinds, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's a lightning storm going on because the light's changing. I open the blinds, and the lights are doing the same thing. So you'll see clips, because this was a 7-minute recording. I cut it to where I'm asking the questions, and you're seeing the lights. You'll see them kind of like white, like a white, and to my specific questions. And then I'm like, Mom, if this is really you, if I'm communicating with something intelligent, flash them all red again. And again, it was just the 5 lights. Since that recording that you're going to share right now, nothing else. And for a while, I felt like a crazy person, because I'd be going, Mom, like trying to talk to the stupid lights. Nothing since then. So I'm glad I captured this, and I got to share it with my sister and other family members. It was almost like confirmation, like I'm okay. Because I always told my mom was very much into UFOs, and she has seen spirits in her life. I'm like, Mom, when you die, I need you to let me know you're okay. And so if you want to share that, you could share it.
Sure. And we thank you for sharing it with us, Katie. So
yeah,
here you go.
Go ahead and flash them again. Thank you. Okay, the other one again. Can you flash red again? Remember last weekend you were flashing red, and oh, thank you. Thank you for going again. Can you flash red?
Oh, there it goes. Okay, now I got that one.
All right, thank you for flashing red. So like a white flash.
I
Can you
saw,
flash red?
change there.
Do you know that we're going to Virginia on Tuesday? Yeah. Did you
Oh,
see
that moved, yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta get that K2 meter.
Are you? Yeah. Did you have fun singing Mr. Sandman? Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Oh, it just flashed. Can you flash red again? Does that take more energy?
And then when she finally makes them go ready, be like, just one more time.
One more time. All right, it's the last time.
And
Flash them all
sooner.
red. If you flash them all red, I won't ask you to flash them red again. Just one more time flashing them red. That way I know I'm communicating with something intelligent that is communicating back to me. Just all red, really quickly. Just red.
You did it. All
You
right.
did it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
All right.
Thank you for that. That was awesome.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Pretty
so
cool. It's like,
we have, some things that have been designed for what we do that are, different colors and things like that. Just for us, what kind of lights are those?
they're those outdoor, like just regular outdoor lights. They just hang on the back of the patio. They're nothing special. They're on. And ever since then, I'm always, like I said, I'm like, do it again. Or a couple times when I have a question to something heavy going on in my life, I'll want to communicate now, and nothing. So I don't know, it's frustrating. Like, you can't make these things just happen at will. I don't know. The other really interesting thing that just recently happened, and I want to share this because to me, it saved my life. So a couple times I've had our big screen TV just turn on out of the blue. All right. It's happened before. But on this particular day, I have a lot of books, as you know, and I have a friend that lives 20 minutes away in Guffey, Colorado. And we were getting ready to head out the door to go get the rest of my books out of their garage. And the one person I'm going with is standing by the door. I'm standing by the kitchen. We're getting ready to leave. The TV turns on. But the weird thing was it turned on to all those like YouTube little boxes, and they were all about car crashes. So normally when you turn on my TV, it actually defaults to the what I call the like the mystery channel. So it came on. Yeah, it like the NBC, whatever that show is. But it had the YouTube car accidents. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I left and I drove extra careful because that had just happened, like a warning, right? And sure enough, we're driving to Guffey and this woman was on her cell phone and swerved into our lane. Had I been going 5 miles over the speed limit, like I normally drive, like 5-7 miles over the speed limit, it would have been a head-on collision. So I felt like something made me slow down the vehicle and saved my life. Was that my mom? Was that a spirit guide? I don't know what that was, but it was nuts. It was nuts. And then a couple of weeks ago, the car just turned on in the driveway. Just car turned on. Is that my mom? I don't know what that is. It's just stuff like that happens all the time. And it's cool to be on a show to be able to talk about it because I normally don't talk about this stuff, honestly.
Well, there are far too many stories of that as far as those type of intercessions that people have, like a woman said, well, I broke a heel. Oh, I got to go change my shoes. If she would have left, I left 5 minutes later than I was normally going to do, and there was an accident up in front.
Right.
But there are so many stories of that.
Right.
What kind of experiences do you have with EVP, Katie?
My favorite EVP experience is when I went with the ghost hunters. They do their events, or they used to. I don't know if they do them anymore. But my favorite episode of Ghost Hunters was the St. Augustine Lighthouse, where you see that dark shadow look down. And I'm like, I gotta get to the St. Augustine Lighthouse in Florida. So we went. My son and I, my second oldest son and I, went to that event, and we went up to the top of the lighthouse, and I had candy bars out because of the 2 girls that drowned there. And we had the K2 and we had the EVP up there. And I was telling them that we came a long way to visit with you, clear from Colorado. And anytime I mentioned snow, the cold and the snow, because I was talking to the girls like, growing up in Florida, I bet you never got to experience snow. And every time that K2 would go crazy and we got the EVPs back, little girls' voices, like they loved the Colorado snow.
I do it too, Katie. I lay guilt trips on them. I traveled so long.
I spent a lot of money to come see you. Here's
Katie, we are at 60 seconds before the end of the show. Tell everybody where they can check you out, follow what you're doing, and put a plug in also for the ranch.
Yeah, thank you for that. You can follow me. I would love a like and a subscribe. It helps me out because I'm a new channel, but Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Paige on YouTube. And I decided, I sit here and love Bill, and I love my show on KGRA and the podcast, and I think it's awesome. But I like to get out there and research and visit places. So I thought, how can I bring that to everybody? And so what I do on that channel is I put together my adventures of going, like we went to Medicine Bow and did the Carl Higdon case. I just did a nice interview with the Millers, who are also on Beyond Skinwalker. I sit down with Tom and Sally. I put together fun little short 20-30 minute videos, and I put them up on my channel. I talk about behind the scenes of all the things that didn't make the episodes on Beyond Skinwalker. I have part 1 and part 2 for season 1. And I'm mad at myself because for season 1, a few days after filming that, I recorded my experiences. So a lot of those episodes I put on my channel are from that recording. I didn't do that for season 2 or 3. So because it's so how quickly we forget if we don't journal it or record it. But anyway, so if you could support that, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Paige on YouTube. Make sure all of you guys go over and follow her also. Just Bill, bear with us for just a second. We're going to be off, I promise you, but Ken, promo for next week?
Yeah, real quickly. Next week, we are going to be joined by stand-up comic and paranormal investigator Tom Stewart, as well as Spooky South Coast host Tim Weisberg. And we are going to review the biggest stories in the paranormal in 2024. So that's next Sunday here on Dead Air.
All right. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. Do not hang up. Stay with us for the after show. And tomorrow night, again, guys, Patreon account, Dead Air Paranormal. Come join us for the town hall. We'll see you next time. Until then, you've been watching Dead Air Live and Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. Have a great night. Thank you.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised.